It's 6:42 a.m., and you're standing in the kitchen, staring at your coffee like it's supposed to tell you something. Nothing dramatic happened. You're not in crisis. You have plans for the day. But underneath it all, there's this quiet sense of floating. Like you're moving, but not really steering. You scroll through your phone. You look at your calendar. You try to feel excited about something coming up. And the question that lingers isn't loud, it's soft and persistent. Why does everything feel slightly off? What you may be feeling is a kind of drifting. Not failure. Not collapse. Just a slow loss of direction. In this video, I want to slow this down and name what's happening, why it shows up, why it can last longer than you expect, and what can make it feel a little steadier. Drifting is when your days keep moving forward, but you don't feel connected to where they're going. You're doing things. You're responding to messages. You're showing up. But inside, it feels like you're slightly untethered, as if your life is happening around you instead of through you. One common reason is that you've been in survival mode longer than you realized. Not emergency survival. Just long stretches of reacting, deadlines, responsibilities, other people's needs, small fires that keep popping up. When life becomes a series of responses, your energy goes into handling what's urgent. Direction quietly gets pushed to the side. You wake up, check what needs attention, and move from one task to the next. Weeks pass. Then months. And one morning, you notice you haven't asked yourself what you actually want in a while. It can begin quietly when you've adjusted yourself too many times to fit where you are. Maybe you took a job because it made sense. Maybe you moved because it was practical. Maybe you became the reliable one in your friend group or your family. None of that is wrong. But when you repeatedly shape yourself around what's needed, your own preferences can get blurry. You might say I'm fine with whatever so often that you stop knowing what you would choose. So when someone asks, what's next for you? Your mind goes blank. Not because you're incapable, but because you've been orienting outward for a long time. Over time, another layer shows up when comparison becomes your compass. You see people announcing promotions, engagements, new projects, big moves. Even if you're happy for them, your mind starts measuring. Am I behind? Am I late? Did I miss something? When your sense of direction comes from tracking other people's timelines, your own path can start to feel invisible. You hesitate, not because you don't care, but because you're unsure what counts as progress anymore. So you keep moving, but it feels like walking in a fog. Picture this. It's a Tuesday evening. Around 9:15. You're sitting on the edge of your bed, laptop still open. You've been working on something for almost an hour. Tabs open. Notes half written. You had an idea earlier, something you wanted to explore. Maybe a course. Maybe a small side project. Maybe just a change in routine. But now you're stuck on where it fits. How serious it needs to be. Whether it's worth the time. Your chest feels heavy, not panicked. Just uncertain. You start thinking, maybe I'll figure it out later. Maybe I need a clearer sign. Maybe I'm just tired. If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what drifting can look like. It's not loud. It doesn't break anything. It just slowly disconnects you from your own momentum. Because sometimes drifting isn't about laziness. Sometimes it's about disconnection. When you've been reacting for too long, adjusting for too long, or measuring yourself against everyone else, your internal compass gets quiet. Not gone. Just quiet. One gentle way to begin steadying this is to shrink the scale of direction. When your mind asks, where is my life going? That question can feel too big to answer. Instead, try asking something smaller. What would make this week feel slightly more like mine? Keep it simple. It could be one conversation you've been postponing. 1 hour set aside for something you're curious about. One boundary that gives you a little breathing room. This works because direction isn't always a 5-year plan. Sometimes it's a series of small turns that slowly reorient you. When you take one step that feels chosen, not just required, you remind yourself that you're still part of the steering. Another quiet practice is noticing where your energy lifts, even briefly. During the day, pay attention to moments that feel lighter. Maybe it's when you're explaining an idea. Maybe it's when you're outside. Maybe it's when you're helping someone think something through. You don't have to turn that into a career decision. Just notice it. Name it. Let it count. Over time, those small sparks can form a pattern. And patterns can point somewhere. But there's something else here that often gets overlooked. Drifting can also be a pause. A space between chapters. Not every season of life feels clear. Some stretches are meant for stabilizing, recovering, or simply maintaining. The pressure to always feel driven can make a neutral season feel like a failure. If you're in a quieter phase, that doesn't mean you've lost yourself. It may just mean you're in transition, even if the next shape hasn't appeared yet. Direction doesn't always announce itself with excitement. Sometimes it returns quietly, after rest, after honesty, after you stop demanding certainty from yourself. This is for people who look functional on the outside but feel slightly unanchored inside. For people who are doing fine, yet keep wondering if something is missing. Feeling like you're drifting doesn't automatically mean you've made the wrong choices. It may mean you've been carrying a lot without checking in. You're not broken for wanting clarity. You're human for feeling untethered sometimes. And direction doesn't always come as a lightning bolt. Sometimes it starts as a small, steady decision, one that feels like yours. If this reflection felt familiar, you're welcome to stay here for more quiet explanations like this. One feeling at a time.